Hello, good afternoon, everybody online and in the room. Welcome to this Cabinet meeting. First item, apologies for absence. I know Councillor Grocott is very keen to be with us, but he's at the funeral of a family member. I'm sure he will try to get online if he can. Otherwise, I will deal with item 4. Do we have any declarations of interest? So let's proceed to item 3, the consultation response extension of job share provisions for elected members of principal councils to non-executive roles. I think that's over to you, Councillor Sandals.
Welcome. Diolch, Leader.
Councillor Grocott, I think you're allowing us to be part of the wait.
My mic keeps muting itself.
Right, that's okay now. I think it mutes itself because of the noise, but there's no noise now. That's great, Councillor. So let's proceed. Councillor Sandals, item 3.
Diolch, Leader. The Local Government and Elections Wales Act 2021 introduced provisions to enable members of the executive to undertake the role on a job share arrangement. Welsh Government are now consulting on extending these provisions to other non-executive posts, and a proposed response to that consultation is attached at Appendix 2. Job sharing arrangements were introduced to enable councillors to work more flexibly and encourage people from diverse backgrounds to be able to undertake the duties of being a councillor. Whilst as a Cabinet we support proposals that will look to strengthen local democracy, there are some implications of these provisions being implemented, such as undermining the role of the Vice Chair, consequences of mandating votes where there isn't an agreement between those members job sharing, and knowledge and experience of committee members where councillors are job sharing are not regular attendees of a committee and its work programme. More detail of this is included at Appendix 2 in the proposed response to the consultation, and I would encourage Cabinet to endorse to this response. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you very much. It is important that we look in ways in which we can increase the diversity and representation. And we know it is very difficult for people who have caring responsibilities as well as being in full-time work to play a full civic role. And it's one of the reasons given why women, black, brown, other minorities don't put themselves forward as well as the rest of the public. So I think it's very important we take part in this consultation, and I'm very pleased that the Welsh Government is looking at different ways to ensure that we are more inclusive and diverse in our democracy. Councillor Ben Callard.
Thank you, Leader. I thought if it's okay, I might just share a quick view on this as someone who's got direct experience of being in a job share in Cabinet, and my personal view is that it's a very useful tool. I think there's a thought that you get 50% of a person, or and then 50% of another person. But in my experience, you often get a higher input than that. So in fact, you operate at a higher capacity than it would be if you had one person, because people tend to put as much as they can into a role. So you end up with a higher capacity, and also you end up with a broader spectrum of views and perspectives on any issue, which I think is really valuable. And as we move deeper into the 21st century, I think working in this way is going to become more common and is more valuable, and we should try and embrace the opportunity it provides. Although I guess I would temper that with where we are talking about chairs of committees. I do think, Angela, that Councillor Sandals, that you raised some good points there about the undermining of the vice chair and how it might work with such things as casting votes. So I do think that's something that we would need to consider. But my experiences anyway. Thank you, Leader.
Good point, Councillor Callard. Councillor Griffiths.
Yeah, I think Councillor Sandals raises some important practical points in the implementation of job sharing for committee chairs, and I think our response should refer to those. They need to be worked through. But I would want to reinforce Councillor Callard's argument that job sharing for executive members has been a positive experience as far as this council is concerned. There is a suggestion that somehow, because the job share has not been sustained for a full 5 years of a term, that somehow it failed. That's the wrong interpretation. I think what has happened is that job sharing has been used as a very useful tool of succession planning. So where it may have become clear that an executive member was not going to continue for the full term, and there are very often good reasons for that, then a job share becomes a mechanism for mentoring a successor. And I think that's what we've done successfully. And seen in that light, if we can overcome some of the operational challenges, I could well see that sort of mentoring procedure being useful for committee chairs as well.
Absolutely, Councillor Griffiths. I couldn't put it better myself. Does anyone else like to make an observation or ask a question of Councillor Sanders? I'll bring in Councillor John.
Afternoon, everyone. Really disappointed actually to see, given all the issues we've got in Wales at the moment, that Welsh Government seem to be wasting time on a consultation like this. Councillor job shares have been tried twice in this council, and they were aborted after a few months. There are some committees, like the Public Services Scrutiny Committee, that have only met twice this entire year. So the prospect of that chair going part-time and doing a job share to do one meeting a year, that's a complete joke and waste of public money, isn't it? This seems a complete distraction for some of the issues we should be talking about.
Councillor John, I'm not sure there's a question in there. And I can understand that you perhaps have vague memories about May, June and July, but those are the reasons why some of the committees have not been meeting as often as they normally would. We were in the middle of the general election, but I can understand you might want to forget that. Councillor Sandals, would you like to?
Yes, I would. Diolch, Councillor John, for your statement, I think. This is a Welsh Government consultation which seeks views both on the existing job share provisions, which allows 2 or more cabinet members to jointly share a cabinet role, and also on proposals to extend job sharing provisions to certain non-executive members. This isn't a cabinet proposal or policy, but simply a response to the Welsh Government's consultation. It's also worth noting that this is a public consultation and it is open to anyone to submit a response in their personal capacity. So I would encourage you, Councillor John, to submit your own response to this consultation, where you'll have the opportunity to highlight your concerns. Thank you.
Thank you. I shall bear that in mind. Thank you very much.
And I would like to remind you, Councillor John, that thinking and acting and encouraging more participation in democracy and looking at ways in which that can happen, I do not believe is ever a waste of time. And I do believe our government, whether it's Westminster or our government in Cardiff, should be thinking about these things. However, let's continue to item 4. Which I will bring in Councillor Grocott. And thank you very much, Councillor Grocott, for making time. Item 4, as you know, was added to the agenda and refers to the call-in of the home to school transport policy, which was referred back to Cabinet by the People's Scrutiny Committee, which met on the 19th of September. Councillor Grocott, we may have trouble in hearing you because of background noise.
Yeah, I was going to say, Leader, this may not work. I thought it was just going to be some close family at this funeral, but I think half of Cirencester has turned out to see her off. So if you want me to stop, just raise your hand and I will disappear. But hopefully we'll be able to get through it. I'm in the quietest bit of the hotel. Can you hear me okay?
We can at the moment.
Okay, great. At its meeting on the 19th of September, the People's Scrutiny Committee referred the Cabinet's proposed changes to home to school transport back to the Cabinet to look again at the effectiveness of the procedure by which it had undertaken this year's consultation. The committee did not comment on any other aspect of the report presented to Cabinet at its meeting on the 11th of February or recommendations contained in the report. It's noteworthy that although the consultation process took place over an identical length of time to that undertaken last year, which drew no criticism from scrutiny at that time, the response to this year's process was dramatically greater. Cabinet should find this reassuring and pointing to the effectiveness of the process by which the consultation was undertaken. In a nutshell, the process took place over a 6-week period, starting while schools were still in session before the summer break and ending in time to ensure the necessary process could be completed in time for the publication of the home to school transport policy for the school year 2025-26 by the 1st of October at the latest. In order to maximise the impact of the process, officers contacted every family who used the school transport service, inviting them to participate in the consultation process. 12 articles were published in the 3 local newspapers, and social media was used to excellent effect. 16 messages were posted on Facebook and/or X, and their effectiveness reflected in nearly 60,000 views of these messages. It's worth making the point that we received nearly 100 more responses for the consultation on home to school transport than we did for the online survey on last year's budget proposals, despite the fact that far more people are directly impacted by the budget. And it might be argued that its impact on most adult members of Monmouthshire population is greater. It's therefore difficult to come to any conclusion other than the fact that this year's consultation was very effective, using a range of criteria: total responses to the consultation document, the number of service users contacted directly, the impact of the use of social media and of traditional print format, produced a dramatic and effective campaign to notify all those people who might wish to participate in the consultation. It would be foolish to say that a process cannot be further refined or improved, but I don't believe that anything coming from scrutiny did anything other than to point to the effectiveness of this year's consultation. I therefore ask members of the Cabinet, when the proposals are put to a vote, to accept that the process of consultation was thorough, well documented and detailed. I do not believe that there is any requirement to amend our original proposals and that they should be adopted as forming a key element of our new home to school transport policy, which will bring us into line with the overwhelming majority of education authorities across Wales. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you. Do we have any observations or comments, Cabinet? Then I'll bring you in again, Councillor John. I believe you have 2 questions if you'd like to ask together.
Okay, thank you. Well, I think this is a mess of your own creation by leaving this consultation to the last minute. Some councils have already begun consulting on their proposals for September 26. This could have been done far earlier.
Councillor John, could you proceed to your questions?
So what reassurance can the Cabinet member give parents who are concerned at the council proposing that their children should walk to school along an unsafe walking route?
Thank you, Councillor John. Always a pleasure to talk to you. even from afar. The
Likewise.
council, the council has not proposed at any point that any child should walk on an unsafe route. Now, let me define what an unsafe route is. An unsafe walking route is a walking route that has been assessed by the council's road safety officers as unavailable in accordance with the criteria set out in the learner travel measure. If it helps, the learner travel measure sets out a series of criteria that includes route conditions such as traffic flows, visibility, crossing points and step-offs, accident data, footpath widths and lighting. Road safety officers undertake independent assessments following the learner travel measure criteria and the Road Safety Great Britain guidance. And let me reassure you that if any walking route is considered to be unsafe, then there is no suggestion that transport would be withdrawn.
Okay, so would you consider a pavement along a 60-mile-an-hour road? Because obviously we've got a lot of those between our villages and towns. Would you consider that to be an unsafe walking route?
I don't consider anything. It is considered and a recommendation is made to me. If the road safety expert recommends that such a pavement was safe, I would take his word for it. If he told me it was dangerous, I would equally take his word for it.
Okay, thank you.
Can you proceed to your second question?
I think Councillor Grocott has answered my
It's
second
answered it all.
question.
Yeah, I leapt in and anticipated the second question, even though it's printed out.
No worries. Thank you very much.
At this point, Leader, if it's okay with you, I will go and join the festivities. Isn't the right word, but I'm sure you understand.
Councillor Grocott, I think you'd be wanting to for us to respond to the recommendations of this report that you present.
Thank you all. Cheers for now. Bye-bye.
Martin,
Stay.
We have a report, recommendations to.
Oh, no, yes. Sorry, I'd forgotten that minor point.
That's fine, Councillor Grocott. I understand you're in the middle of a funeral, and it's very good of you to come out. We have two recommendations. The 2.1, I will read out both. 2.1, that the Cabinet decides whether to reaffirm the decision taken on 11th of September to approve the distance eligibility criteria in the Halton School Transport Policy in light of the comments made by the People Scrutiny Committee on the 19th of September. It's made clear, Cabinet, that Councillor Grocott is recommending that we do approve. Do we approve? That's a yes. The 2.2, that the points highlighted by the People Scrutiny Committee are used to inform the way in which future consultation exercises are carried out. I know, Councillor Grocott, you made a similar assertion at the committee, and I am rest assured that we will do that, but is that the way we want to go, Cabinet? Yes, that's agreed. Thank you very much. That brings us to the end of Cabinet. Thank you very much, Cabinet. Thank you, Councillor John, and thank you everybody else online.
Thank you.
Thank you. I completely forgot about